Hello, everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanis Coughlin, founder of the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy, and I am a Reiki Master, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess, Channel, Galactic Ambassador. I do stuff. And here is my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Tchaikovsky. How about you tell us what you do?
Yeah, so Jennifer Tchaikovsky with Twillow Lifestyle, as well as my holistic self-counseling. I'm a registered psychotherapist, certified Canadian counselor, intuitive life coach. I do stuff too. Energy.
And we do stuff together.
Yeah, all kinds of fun, well-being, light and love kind of stuff.
Yep, agreed. And we do all that kind of stuff together too.
Yes.
So that's fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were just talking about doing stuff together and the transits right now and all that kind of stuff, and how we're in this place of, you know, for us, our together completion. Like there's nothing left to do. There's more to go. So let's just chat. Like let's not work on right now.
So we do get together to do work, usually weekly, and some weeks we get on and we're all like business-like, and the transits today we were both like, so yeah, whatever. What do you want to do? I don't know. And we get off on a tangent of doing this. What else do we want to do? I don't know. They're telling us to do this. Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. They tell us to do something. Usually we listen, or we try to.
Yeah, I think we were still in mostly line with, we were exploring stuff that needed to be explored. Maybe not.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. I'm not sure if it was on my agenda for today, but it was definitely on my agenda for some point.
At some point, right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because right now our sun is in the 63rd gate, right? After completion, doubt, right?
Right.
And then that is beautifully accompanied by the Earth 64th gate, before completion, confusion. So we're in this like cycle spot of just kind of thinking, overthinking, not really sure where to go, not really sure if we want to go, not really sure where we're going to.
It's like, I don't know. kind of time.
Yeah, and just kind of, recognizing that sometimes we're going to be in those places, and it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's okay. This is going to come up, and it's just going to be kind of part of our process right now. So giving yourself a lot of grace and a lot of compassion. If you feel like you're spinning your wheels, or if you feel like you're kind of like, oh, well, why bother? I don't really feel it coming to fruition, and I feel like I'm just doing all this stuff and nothing's coming. Right? Because right now is really, it's this time of so there's a lot of heart center activation. So in HD, heart center is not like the loving woo-wah center. It's the willpower and the self-worth and all of that kind of center. And it's like the power is there for us to accomplish. It's this idea of, if you put your heart to it, you're going to be able to do it. And that's in the energy. But because of the doubt and the confusion and all of that kind of stuff, getting there can be really difficult.
It just feels like walking through mud right now, is kind of what it feels like. It's like I've been describing the last few weeks even as like hibernation time. Like I just feel like I could do that, but I don't want to, so I just don't want to.
What's coming up on that motivation piece, right? It's okay if it ebbs and flows. That's kind of part of our process.
It's part of life, right?
Yeah. And we talk about doubt, right? And people are like, oh, doubt, it's so bad. It's a necessary part of life and the cycle of life, right? And it has its own value too, because it allows us to step back and reevaluate.
Yeah.
Right? And we need to do that. And sometimes we do that and we go, no, I'm good. I got this. And off we go. Right? Yeah. But that reevaluation piece can be a really powerful motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so use it for the value that it can bring instead of getting lost in it.
Instead of I don't want to.
Well, and that might also be the confusion part, right? So there's also this confusion, and we were talking about it earlier. It's this idea of you've got all the pieces of the puzzle, you just aren't sure how to put it together yet. Right? And so
I used to joke about, I used to joke actually about my filing cabinet, meaning my files and that they were all over the floor those days. Yeah. I don't know where anything is, but it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and it's true, right? And if we get caught up in the overthinking and stuff of the transits right now, or we try to be too kind of, logical about all of it, we can talk ourselves into doing nothing. Right?
Yeah.
And so really,
there's days I'm really good at that.
Right? So again, and I always come back to grace and compassion. Grace and compassion. Right? If you're feeling that stuckness, it's okay. Right? Just say, okay, what do I need right now? Right?
Yeah. And it's okay if it's a quiet day that you need, or a quiet week, or a quiet month, right? It's okay.
It's all okay.
Yeah. So how are you guys feeling? There's a few of you on here, so let us know how you're feeling. How are you feeling today? Because, those energy things have been all over the place again. We've had solar storms again. I feel like I'm talking about this every week, but it's happening every week. So I'm trying to keep you updated. I know I sound like a broken record, but, we've had solar storms again. Where it's expected to continue for a while. So you are going to be hearing me talk about them for quite a while. They don't all have the corona mass ejections involved, but we had another X level solar storm again, right? Yeah. So it affects our vibration here. So we get tired, we get like teary, we get and it's okay. It's the energy. Yeah. So that's why. How are you guys doing? Let us know in the chat how you're doing. Yeah. So
well, and notice if this is a really emotional time right now for you, take a moment and allow yourself to notice it. Right? I don't really get into this part of the HD transits very much, but with each transit, there's there's a section for what we're focusing on, what we're here to communicate, and what we need to learn. Right? And it's interesting because all of the gates in focus right now, we're looking at aloneness. We're looking at the gate of shock. And we're looking at the gate of feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So there's going to be a lot coming up, and that's okay. Right? It's just, we talk about this all the time. Can we ride the waves?
Right? And how do we process it? Right? Because we have to process this stuff as it comes up.
Yeah. So if you find yourself thinking about aloneness, or not feeling part of your community, or feeling separate from your family or group or whatever, notice it, right? We don't need to judge it or anything else, especially right now because we've got so much doubt and questioning, right? We really want to take some time to be able to allow ourselves the experience without having meaning put to it.
That is so hard for us as humans. We want to figure everything out. Why is this happening? What's causing this? And it's not always possible because sometimes there's just so many different factors that we can't figure it out, and that's okay. But we really want to, because our brain wants to put some linear thought into this.
It does. And our brain wants to fix it. Yeah. Right? So again, we look at the gate of shock in that thinking piece, right? On one end, there's this, I feel disconnected and I want to be connected. And then there's this idea of what dramatic thing can I do to force connection?
Look at the card. I just cut the deck to see what would come up.
Doubt.
You can't make this stuff up, guys. I don't know. We'll just continue with talking about doubt then, because that's our card for the day.
Yeah.
They kept saying, you just need to just cut the deck. Just cut the deck. And I'm like, all right.
I'll cut the deck and here we go.
And you know what the phrase is? I release the need to know all the answers.
I love it.
You can't make this stuff up, folks. You just can't. So, as our typical, we usually pick a card.
Mm-hmm.
Soul's Journey, James Van Praagh, for our topics. Normally I shuffle, but they told me to just cut it and pick it.
Just cut it. And there
cut it and
is.
pick it. And there you go. Doubt. I release the need to know all the answers. That is our affirmation for the week.
And it is so perfect.
I just got like
for what we're going
huge
through
chills.
right
Huge chills.
And you know, it's beautiful because in the Gene Keys, when we're talking about doubt, he talks about going from doubt to inquiry to truth, right? And this ability to really allow doubt its purpose and its place, right? Because it allows us to make inquiries. It allows us to be curious.
Yep.
Right? And in that space of curiosity, we can recognize that maybe what I think I know is not really what I know. And that's okay. Right?
Exactly.
That's why inquiry is a gift.
Well, and we have to do the self-reflection. That's a big part of our learning.
Yeah.
So doubt causes us to do the self-reflection. It creates that for us. So it's an impetus to do it.
Yeah.
So that's a gift as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and in the kind of inquiry aspect of it, right? When we're digging in, again, like I think about how we were talking about with shock and the idea of like, I want to make this happen. In this sense, it's all about going inside for ourselves and kind of going, where is this doubt coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What is the actual like root of it? What is the truth behind it? What is causing this to come up for me from within me? Right? So that we can look at our own aspects and what is, you know, coming up for us that's causing this. And maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe it's feeling like it's not good enough. Maybe it's feeling like we don't have what it takes to see it through. Right? I mean, there's so many different components to this.
And sometimes it's just that we don't have the energy to see it through.
Yeah.
And it's not really that you can't. It's just, you just need to do some self-care first. I'm just thinking about the self-doubt thing, because that's been a theme a lot, like with my clients and stuff as well. Mm-hmm. That self-doubt, doubting whether you have the resources, whether you have, and whether that's brain capacity, whether it's like energy, whether it's money, whether it's tribe, whether it's customers or clients, or, you know, self-doubt around all of that is big right now, you know? And I think it does come down to that sort of worthiness piece and doing the Ho'oponopono in the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? I go back to doing that, you know, pretty regularly, because there's times when something happens and you're like, oh, I thought I was further along this journey. And then you realize, oh yeah, it's just another layer.
Just another layer. It's
just another layer. Mm-hmm.
Right. But we talk about like the spiral of life, right? Like we're not spinning our wheels, we're not going in circles, but we are in this spiral. And so we do revisit the same things because that's what we are here to learn and what we're here to, you know, grow from. Yeah. Like one of the archetypes, and I don't even remember, maybe it was Gene Keys, maybe it's one of them. But for this one is the idea of the detective, right?
Right.
And so we uncover something and then we work on that. And then it leads to us uncovering something else. And then we work on that.
Self-discovery.
Right? Yep. Right. But it's just the ongoing process of it and allowing space for it to happen.
Yeah. Self-discovery. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Oh, yes.
This is a course we're working on, guys. So stay tuned. It's going to be pretty cool. Intense 9-week thing.
Yeah.
Be fun.
That'll be really fun. Mm-hmm. And it'll help too, I think, sometimes with the doubt, right? And I've talked about this before. Like I'll use human design sometimes with clients who want to dive into it. And there is this piece where we doubt our own ability to understand ourselves, even though on an intuitive level we might know that something's right for us, but because of world conditioning, family, friends, whatever,
Programming.
right? We're told, no, just push through, just do this, just do that.
Yeah.
And so the more we're able to really understand ourselves and our own design and our own makeup, we can begin to differentiate between what is that conditioned piece and what is, what giving ourselves permission to be what we know we are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I know when you've done my chart, there were a couple of things that I was kind of like, how do I say this? Not as happy with aspects, so that I felt they were part of my shadow side, the certain aspects of personality. And as we did the chart, I realized, oh, that's just who I'm meant to be. Okay, can I step out of that judgment then and not see it as a shadow anymore, And I have been able to do that thanks to you and the human design, because I was like, okay, so if that's like that, then that's okay. I need to learn to embrace that part of me and use it in a different way, maybe, so that I don't feel like it's a negative thing for me, right? It's just, it is what it is. So taking that judgment out of it, right, was important for me to do that. And that's kind of the value I think I see in us getting to know ourselves in different ways. And that's kind of what this class is that we're doing, because we're going to be looking at it, at ourselves with different tools. And each of them will be slightly different. Each of them will have a different context, but they're all different aspects of self. So, and that's really a big part of our journey, because it does help decrease the doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you think about it, like, where does doubt really come from, right? And often it's a fear-based emotion,
very
right?
much.
A fear-based kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so when we think about, like, especially right now, right, where the mind is in this searching, right? And we talk about like right brain, left brain, all that kind of stuff, right? And so on the one end, we have the logic, we have the reasoning, we have our judgments, we have our labels, we have the file room.
The one that's all over the floor sometimes? Yeah.
Right. And on the other side, we have this creative, open, nurturing ability to see the ebbs and flows and all of that. Right. And what happens is if we focus too much on one, we're going to see all the problems and we're not going to see any of the solutions because it doesn't have the capacity for that. So we need to have that balance. Right. And so that's where embracing the gift of curiosity, right, of investigation is so important as a component to doubt, because, where is the fear coming in?
Yeah.
What is it telling me? What is it telling me about my environment? What is it telling me about the people around me? What is it telling me about me? Right? And now all of a sudden, just like in, any emotion, it comes as a messenger. Now we're working on getting the message.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's true. I think, doubting someone. So that's another thing, right? We can talk about doubting self, but what about doubting others? That sort of lack of trust and not being able to trust other people and what they bring to our life and that kind of thing. That's another whole aspect of this doubt, is doubting where we're at. Yeah. So, question, can love counteract doubt then?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you're doubting, are you loving?
Well, that depends. If I'm doubting somebody else, am I loving me maybe? Because I'm being cautious? But love and fear are opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah. So if you think about it, again, maybe it's going to come down to some semantics, right? But in this case, like, let's say I'm doubting Tanis is going to show up for our Twillow talk, right?
Yep.
I could go into fear
Good.
and panic, and I could say, Tanis isn't showing up, that's it, I'm not doing it. And away I go.
You could.
Right? Or
I'm
vice
glad you
versa.
didn't.
Tanis could do this to me, right?
I'm glad you didn't.
Or I could use that doubt as a curiosity and go, hey, Tanis, you okay? Are we doing this today?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And now there's love in that.
Yes, because you're asking if we're okay. So it's that concern piece, right?
Right. So then did I truly have doubt, or was I curious? Right? And this is where I say, like, semantically, we could play with this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it is that kind of moving between. And if we allow ourselves to move between, it's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, the curiosity thing, I think, is an important way to look at it in terms of that. Because we need to be curious to learn. That's what we're here for, is to learn. And we need to be curious as an impetus to learn. Oh, we're losing Jen. There she is.
The computer did its thing, and I was like, oh, look, I'm frozen there. All right, let's just, but yes, it is. And doubt is an impetus to learn. And I think it's a beautiful one, if you really think about it, because with doubt, we still have choices.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we haven't gone into panic. We're not in complete shutdown. We haven't moved into that, like, fight, flight, freeze state. Like, we're still just kind of in that place of, I can still stay socially engaged. I can still connect, and I can still move with this. Right? It hasn't gone completely into fear yet.
Yeah, it's true. We have a comment from Jacqueline. Curious George rocks.
Oh my God. Curious George rocks. I love it.
George. He's cute.
Definitely.
So welcome, Jacqueline. She's one of our teachers as well at the school, which is awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I lost my train of thought. It's gone.
No, it's good. We're talking about curiosity,
learning,
and
so we need to be curious to learn, because if we're not curious, we're not going to want to learn. We'll just be like, yeah, I don't want to. Which brings us back to where we're at today. This is kind of like I don't want to attitude right now because of our transits. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Well, and that's it, right? Like, it's okay to not be go, go, go. And it's okay to not have all the answers. And it's okay to be in limbo.
Isn't that funny? Because, our programming, society is like, you need to be busy. You need to be busy. That shows success if you're busy. Does it though? Is that a judgment on that? Or is it, preconceived ideas? That's a programming thing, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
People almost wear it as a badge of honor if they're busy.
If they're overly busy and they can't keep up. Right?
Yeah.
But again, I mean, when you think about absolutes versus, these kind of arbitrary, does it really matter truths, right? There isn't a whole lot of absolute.
No.
Even though, right? So even just
what is that? Well, especially today's day and age. There is nothing that's for sure.
How powerful doubt is from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Society's pushing all these shoulds on me. I doubt that's true. Maybe there's something else to this. Maybe I don't actually have to believe that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is that quote? I don't remember exactly who it was from or by or whatever, but it was like, believe half of what you see less of what you hear, and something else I don't remember. I'd have to look it up exactly. But just that idea of, what we think we know.
Yeah, we don't. It's the iceberg kind of thought, right?
Yeah.
Because we see this part of the iceberg, but there's underneath the ice or under the water. We only ever really see the surface. And that's where, when we do deep dives into know thyself, not just for the class, but I mean, overall, our journey is about getting to know ourselves. When we start to do those deep dives, we start to see under the surface of the water, and we start to get a better, more complete picture of ourselves. Yeah. And in order to do that, we have to have some self-doubt, or we get comfortable in our every day. It's kind of like the chaos thing. We have to have a bit of chaos to push us out of our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use that carefully. I don't want tons of chaos, but there has to be a bit of an impetus for us to want to change, because otherwise, as humans, we get very complacent.
Yeah.
And we like to be in our comfort zone, and we like to just be okay, I'm good now.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that mean?
Yeah. Well,
I know that
nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah. And yet everything changes, because we always are learning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this real dichotomy that we have in society about, we don't want to change, but we always are. And so we're never really happy. Unless we're happy with change, we're always changing.
But even still, and I've talked about this so often with clients too, right? Is the mind will always find something to complain about. It will always find something it doesn't like, right? Because it's programmed and conditioned and whatever else. And so if we can get to that place where we can recognize, this is just a thought.
Right.
I don't have to attach to this thought. This thought doesn't have to define who I am or how I see the situation. It's one possible thought, one possible way, right? And that's where doubt can be beautiful.
And we need to remember we have free will. Because those thoughts can, of course, come from our guts.
Yeah, but different.
but we have free will, so we're allowed to, make our own choices.
Yeah.
So creating doubt creates the opportunity for exploration.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think about doubt in the sense of logic and logical thinking, right? And it's a beautiful thing when we can express to the mind, life isn't linear.
No.
Things don't always make logical sense. We're not going to always be able to reason our way through something. That's okay.
But we want to reason our way through. We want a reason for why this is happening.
Yeah. But again, right? And we talk about this.
Release the need to know all the answers.
Right? Well, and it is. It's like that inquiring minds want to know. It's oh my gosh. We want to know the unknowable over and over and over again. And then we think we know, and we limit what we could know.
Well, that's the other thing. That's where our limited beliefs come in, right? Doubt creates limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Just as feeling unworthy. So lack of self-worth, there's lack of self-love, creates those limiting beliefs. We think that we're only capable of doing so much because doubt has crept in.
Yeah.
But we are infinite beings, infinite multidimensional beings, working on multi-dimensions to create our lives.
Yeah.
And the more we can work on creating in the other dimensions and then bringing that down, grounding that in to this dimension, the more we can move forward. with building the life that we really want.
Yeah.
So creating in the other dimensions, but then there's doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Does that do my visualizations really create? How does that work? Well, we don't really understand it all. So we need to release, need to know all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do you allow yourself just to remain open?
Mm-hmm.
What does that even look like for you?
And how does it feel? You guys that are watching, how does that feel to you? To just allow, and stay open, stay flexible.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel? Because not everybody's comfortable with that.
No.
But that's the basis of resilience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And there is a lot of energy in openness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not easy.
Simple, but not easy.
Isn't that kind of like the nature of life?
Yeah. Indeed.
Right? But again, where there's openness, again, there's curiosity, there's creativity, and ultimately there is love, right?
Yep.
Like when we embrace those qualities, we love experiencing however that shows up, and it doesn't have to be labeled. And that's different.
It is.
Right?
Just not labeling is different for a lot of us.
Yeah. But I mean, we talk about like magic and we talk about all of these different things. How magical is that to just be open
Mm-hmm.
and to just allow flow and to ride that flow, right? And when it stops or it stagnates for a moment, kind of go, oh, I'm going to look around here. What's going on here in this moment? Oh, okay. I'd like to deal with that. Cool. Oh, look at that. I'm back in flow. Things we're good, right? But if we judge it all the way, we're blocking it over and over and over again. And then
that's our resistance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when we hit the really tough spots, it's like, well, I don't like this. Now we're fighting against it even more,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now we're blocking it even more.
Yeah. Yeah, that darn resistance. The more we resist, what's the phrase you always use? The more we resist, the more we suffer. Is that what you?
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
Equation. I don't remember where I heard it years ago, though. But it was it was a math equation because for people who like math.
Yep.
Right. But you're like not me, and I'm like I'm a geek. We got this.
I'm not math girl.
But perceived level of difficulty plus level of resistance equals level of suffering.
Right. And it's perceived level of difficulty.
Yes. I think the thing I saw said level of difficulty, but I like adding perceived. But exactly, right? Like,
yeah.
If we perceive that we can't navigate something, fear, doubt, all of that. And then how do we move through that?
Yeah. That we have to redefine our doubt points.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. So if we look at it as opportunity
to discover.
Curious, to be open, right? To see things in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, sky's the limit. And not even.
My galactic brothers and sisters might say, it's not the limit.
It's not. No, that's it. Right? And so, when we talk about this idea of, heart opening, which is a lot of what March is going to be about, this idea of heart expanding and all of that, it's really about can we move beyond these limiting thoughts into our real power of being open, being creative, being loving.
Yeah, it's something that just came through was that, the shoulds are kind of our limiting box. They
Mm-hmm.
put us in a box. The shoulds put us in a box of doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So don't
Yeah.
should each other to death, please.
No, definitely not. And one of the things, I think it's Richard Rudd who talks about this in the Gene Keys, is the idea that logic has no actual relationship with truth.
Oh, so that's an interesting concept.
Right? So when we doubt, it's like we can't logic our way through it,
Right.
but we don't have to.
Well, and truth is dependent on perception.
And that's why they can't have a relationship.
Right.
Right? Because what is true in one moment for one person in one situation is not true maybe for that same person in that same situation in another moment,
Yeah.
or for another person in that situation in that moment, right? Like it's all so subjective.
Yeah. So what's your truth today, guys? What's your truth? What's your perception of where we're at today? Or where are you at today? Yeah. Give us one word to reflect what your truth is today. Yeah. What's your truth today, Jen?
If I had to have one word. Openness. How about you?
Compassion is what comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
For self as well as others.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having compassion.
Yeah. And that's it too, right? Like we can doubt in both of those.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take away their power.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change what they can do for us. It's only our perception that changes.
Well, and doubt is a perception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of heavy, that one. Doubt is a perception. I don't know why that feels heavy to me. Yeah, it's fascinating.
We hold on to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we hide behind it, and sometimes we justify with it. And I mean, like, think about all of the different things that we use doubt for.
It's definitely an indicator of fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's also an interesting thing to look at. Where is doubt coming up in your experience?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doubting, right? Because what we're doubting in this moment is going to tell us some areas to look at.
That's right. To do that self-discovery piece.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a little message. Hello, lovely ladies.
Hello, hello.
This is our lovely Michelle Marie.
Oh, hello, Michelle.
Another teacher for our school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Check her out. Astrological Tarot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. Right. And it's hard, right? When life is throwing us curveballs, when things are not going as planned, it's easy to doubt.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we do need to change course.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to stay and persevere. And doubt allows space for reflection to see which option is better.
What if we get stuck in doubt? Right?
Yeah. And that's being stuck in the fear, right? And getting into that place of not being able to make the decision. And now we're stagnant, right? Or we're running away.
And I just had a conversation with somebody the other day about, Not making a decision is often making a decision.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't often look at that.
Yeah.
But it really is often.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where we have to wait. And that is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait and all. But there are times exactly where, you know, not responding, not answering something.
And that's kind of the hiding piece, right?
Yeah.
So Michelle says, yes, we're reflecting quite a bit these days. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a time to do that, right? It's a time of expansion and transformation. It requires reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. But in that, it's really important to recognize that it's okay to not have the answer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And
I release the need to know all the answers. We keep coming back to that, right? I release the need to know all the answers.
Release the need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting piece, right? Because like, all right, if we're going through all of this right now, like what is the learning in it? Right? And how does all of this kind of play a role together? Right? And it's interesting because we're looking at things like direction of self. Where am I going to go from here? You know, how do I navigate crisis and how do I use crisis to help me, you know, endure and move through and know, you know, and understand the cycles? And how do I bring in acceptance for the process? Right? And those are the transits for learning right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, doubt, confusion, all of that stuff that's going on right now is all part of unraveling that for us.
Yeah, unraveling. That's an interesting word. Almost a trigger word.
Is it?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what comes up with that word?
I think it's like an unknown, chaotic kind of feeling that comes up with that, you know?
I don't know if you ever saw the image, and this is what comes to mind for me, and kind of why I love the word, is, do you ever see the image of, and this is a therapy image, right, of the person with like the knotted mess of yarn just every which way, and it's all scattered, and they're just sharing all their stuff, and the therapist is just winding it together.
Nice.
Into a nice little ball, right? And the idea behind it is that the unraveling is not that we're coming undone, right? It's that we're breaking through the knots and we're allowing space, right, to come back to wholeness in a way that is good, that is, you know, that is going to serve us.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Martha.
Thanks, Martha.
She says, this is so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, and there is a fear of unraveling.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What if I, you know, what if I get lost in my emotions?
Yeah.
What if I get, you know, I get so unraveled that I can't find my way back? Right? And these are doubts that I can navigate that unraveling, that I can navigate change.
And yet we are all so capable of doing it, right?
Yeah.
We have a big one here from Michelle. I'll have to read the rest here, I guess.
Okay, I'll let you read it.
So there's so much fear in anticipating taking action that often we stand like deer in the headlights and don't move. For me, there is a certain level of confidence, self-esteem involved. Confidence comes from experience. We have made lots of decisions throughout our lives, but we have had to make the first decision in order to gain experience. And the firsts can be scary, but we can grow through it. Beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful.
I love, love, love that. And it's really interesting, and you'd probably really appreciate the gene keys on this one, because one of the things that he talks about in there is exactly that idea of it. We might feel so caught up, oppressed, really stuck, whatever it is, because we don't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if we just look back at how far we've come, we know we have the power to keep going because we've already made it so far.
Yeah.
Right. And
we don't often give ourselves enough credit in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I really like this last part that Michelle put. Let me just put it here, and then I can show it. Firsts can be scary, but we can grow through it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
That was part of what was hidden on our message there. It's
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it's really about, right? Is growing through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't grow and we don't change if we're not willing to do something different.
Yeah. Exactly. But there's that, I forget the person that said it, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different response.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we do quite often, because we get into the conditioned mind and it just wants to repeat the same things over and over again. And it doesn't recognize that we have to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or you think you're doing something different, but you've reverted into programming along the way. So what you thought was a different path, it's just a different thing of the same path, right? A different way of looking at it.
There's a comedian, Eddie Izzard. I adore him. Anyway, in one of his stand-up routines, and he's talking about like taking over Russia and the snow and the weather and all of that. And he's like, I got a new idea. And he's like, they're charging and charging and charging. He's like, no, it's the same idea. It's the same idea.
Yes.
Charging back up. Right. And it's what we do, right? We think,
is.
brand new plan. And in we charge. And we're like, oh, never mind.
No, that's the same lesson I learned last time. Let's try this again.
Yeah.
So Jane or Michelle has something here for you, Jen. So in Vedic astrology, they say, don't look up at the god goddess and despair. Look down at, I guess it's how far you've come, and rejoice in your progress.
Yes, I love it. I love that, Michelle.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, and it's, and it's true too. Like we're talking about, Einstein and the whole thing. He also talked about how you can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so again, it's that same idea, Michelle, of just, if we're constantly looking at what we don't have or where we haven't gotten to or what we still need to achieve, we're defeating ourselves. Right. But if we can just go, yeah, okay. Even if I made this tiny little step from here to here, I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I can move to the next and to the next. And give
gratitude and give ourselves kudos and celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because that's important too.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. And I've seen this, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too. I think it's gone around on Facebook and all that kind of stuff and everything for a long time now. And this is going to be a really shitty drawing of it, but whatever. Because of the idea. But then.
You didn't know it was craft day today, did you guys?
Hey, Okay, right? And it's this image, right? Of the two ladders. Sorry. Yep. This is like, right? But all the rungs are really close together. And here he is up here. But this one, he's like trying to make huge leaps and he can't even get going.
Right.
Right? And I think that when we're looking at doubt and fear and stuff like that, this has a huge place.
Yeah.
Because we look so far ahead and go, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's not gonna work. Right? And we don't take the time to notice all the little steps we've already taken
Mm-hmm.
and allow space for us to continue to take those little steps along the way.
Well, I think that rings true for a lot of people with health goals, for instance, right? You have really, like, you want to be a bodybuilder within a month. You know, you're like, okay, chill. let's look at this in a little bit more realistic. Let's move those rungs a little closer together. That's how you're going to get there.
I've done that with clients before who've beaten themselves up because they're just not reaching their goals and stuff. And I said, you're going to start a new journal and it's going to be what you've achieved.
Yeah.
And you're only going to mark what you've achieved. That's it. Right. And if you want to set a goal, it's the next tiniest little 1 point goal. Right. But that's it. Don't beat yourself up because you haven't made it there yet. Right. Yeah. And that's going right to what Michelle was saying with that quote from the Vedic astrology, which I love. Right. And again, that idea of, we have to be able to notice what we have achieved.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, the first that Michelle is talking about and every little bit after that. Right? Because when it comes to doubt and fear and all of that, we become victims of it if we allow ourselves, right? But if we can bring in that openness and we can bring in that love and we can bring in that curiosity and everything else, now we become the detective or the inspector.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And now there's so much opportunity.
Absolutely. So embrace the doubt, folks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The doubt actually can create beautiful opportunities for us all. When we look into the doubt, we do the self-reflection.
Mm-hmm. Embrace the not knowing.
Yeah.
Right. I love it.
Release the need to know the answers.
Yeah. In the Tao Te Ching, it talks about, and I think it's near the end, but I love this part. And it says, I'm going to make sure I quote it right. Not knowing is true knowledge. Perceiving that we know is a disease.
Well, that brings to mind half of being smart is knowing what we're dumb at. Right? If you know that you don't know, that makes you smart.
And truly, I think there's another saying about the more you know, the more you realize
you don't.
There's so much more. Yeah. Right? And so...
And we all just do the best we can with what we do know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so doubt just opens the door for curiosity if we're willing to look at it.
Yeah. So go ahead and doubt, but use it in the positive way that it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Embrace the not knowing.
Embrace the not knowing. Be curious.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to the end of our show today. So we want to thank you for sharing your energy with us. It's always a pleasure. And we want to wish you a wonderful week, full of love. Full of love, releasing what we no longer need.
Yes.
I'm Tanis from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, Twillow Lifestyle Academy. Jen?
And I am Jennifer from Twillow Lifestyle and from My Holistic Self.
And you can reach us at Twillow Lifestyle. It's all along the bottom. Mm-hmm. And you can reach Jen at My Holistic Self as well.
MyHolisticSelf.com.
Yep. TwillowLifestyle.com. No, .ca really. But you can get to us by .com,
They're all connected.
They are all connected, actually.
You can even get to Twillow through My Holistic Self.
There you go. See? We're all connected.
We're all connected.
We're all one. We're all one. So are our sites. We're wishing you all a wonderful week, and we'll see you back here next week on Monday, 5 o'clock. Have an awesome week, everyone.
Have an awesome week.